Welcome to the edition of Immersive Outlook. Today we are really privileged to have with us Dr. Arif Dowla, who is a man of many hats, a PhD in mathematics from the University of California, San Diego. Dr. Dowla took over as the Managing Director of ACI Limited in July 2005 and is the functional head of the ACI Group. He is the former chairman of Mutual Trust Bank Limited. He is also currently serving as the director of the bank. Prior to that, he was also the director of Pioneer Insurance Company Limited for 7 years. Dr. Dowla has diversified the ACI business, and today ACI is the largest turnover-based conglomerate in Bangladesh. In 2008, he started the retail chain business under the name Swapno. Today, with more than 350 outlets, Swapno has spurred the people of his country to dream of improving the quality of their lives. Welcome to this session, Dr. Dowla. It's really a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Arnab. I'm really happy to be here.
So, Dr. Dowla, you've obviously had a very successful career spanning diverse industries. Besides being the MD of ACI today, you're also the director of Mutual Trust Bank and a member of the American Mathematical Society with a PhD in maths. And earlier, you've also been, associated with the insurance industry. If you can just walk us through some of the key milestones and defining moments of this journey you have had.
First of all, the big jump for me was to move and change gears from a very research-oriented environment in the US to come back to Bangladesh and be part of this as executive consultant, which I was for 3 years before I became managing director of the group. I think the biggest jump happened when I felt that I had the responsibility to grow this company, at that time about $25 million in turnover. And I also felt that there was a lot of economic development that needed to happen in this country. And how can you grow in a country where there is not that much economic development going on in the first place? So this was the first big challenge, to set out a big, ambitious goal of understanding how we can grow with the country's economic needs, trying to go from the direction of what the country does and what it needs to do in the immediate short term. What are the doable must-haves was my way of thinking around that. And I looked at a lot of the growth around other Southeast Asian countries whose economic development was much faster or had developed a little bit more than us. And I tried to understand what actually happens in those countries. What are the must-haves? What's the sequencing of this development of an organization inside a country? But it was for me mostly about the country, Bangladesh. How would Bangladesh evolve, and how can I align the organization to that evolution? So we launched a lot of new businesses, and that was a big challenging part, to create the first milestone of growth across fundamental areas. And I always wanted to make sure that we were on the must-have segments, things that must have to happen and should happen in the next 5 years. I was not thinking about where we will be 25 years from now. I thought that the landscape of the world is too rapidly changing for me to worry about that, but to get a strong foothold in the next 5 years. Moving window, of course. It's never about the 5 years, but a 5-year look-ahead function. So I was really focused on that. And another point that you might say is, why diversify? Because there are a lot of things in Bangladesh that needed to be done, but was not being done. And I thought that was a huge opportunity. And of course, it's very hard to develop global competencies right from the beginning. So I thought that, okay, since we have some level of credibility and good support from the banks, good image in the company. I thought that it would be nice to get into important fundamental areas where there should be rapid growth and where there is necessity in the country for the rapid growth. I thought that we needed to find a bigger picture so that all the pieces would fit into a larger whole. That was critical for me.
So going to the next question, given the rapidly changing industry dynamics and the global economic upheavals, what are your thoughts around securing the business? How do you increase the resilience and also focus on process optimization?
I think it's important to make sure that there is a lot of clarity around what we want to do in the next few years. So 1 year is of course too short, and I look at usually 3 to 5 years. What are the things that we need to achieve? And what are the major processes that will make that achievement happen? So once these processes are clearly understood, and there is of course a lot of debate that goes on before we achieve some level of clarity, then the issue becomes, how do we make sure these processes are done in a cost-effective way? So I think as much time has to be spent on finding out what is important as to get on with the business of optimizing things. I think here I found that even within our own team that there was a little bit of an issue. But I think a lot of clarity is required in order to make sure it's not about how much we work, it's about what we decide to work on and what is fundamental and what is accidental. So it's very important to identify those core few things that you need to get right. And there are so many things out there, you can't get everything right, but those few core things should really get 80% of your attention. I try to link the long-term goals with the short-term operations, which need to be managed by people who are very good at those specific operations. Does that make sense, Arnab?
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense, Dr. Dowla, and I think going deep into some of those makes all the difference. Coming to the next question, in today's world, technology integration has become key to the growth of any business. Tell us a bit about how your company is leveraging technology and automation in operations management. And also, what's your take on the power of AI and its use in the manufacturing space?
So I divide the technology into different categories. So one category is the digital and AI revolution that's occurring that actually can penetrate into almost every system and process. Initially, maybe through collection of data, getting your data to be more visible to the point where you can begin to start putting it inside an AI engine. So that's across the board, trying to make sure how we can be more digital and more visible. It allows for clarity also. It allows for different technologies to come into the system. Not necessarily AI technologies, because I find that in many cases we don't have enough data to run an AI engine, but we have enough data to run like a business insights engine where you can actually do more traditional types of information analysis. In some cases, of course, it's AI susceptible. Otherwise, there is the other type of technology that is business-specific technology that the customers need, the relevant technologies that will allow your business to move to the next level. So that's very important also. And in fact, that allows your business to reach out to the customer with the technologies of that particular business. Since we are diversified, I try to keep this separate. The digital technologies are a must-have across all your businesses in terms of creating an overall platform, but it also requires a lot of articulation of data. Then to your point about manufacturing, I think this is a huge opportunity. But before it happens, we need a lot of collection of data in the appropriate sectors. We need sensor-based data. We need automated data to come in, because AI cannot really work or cannot really do something special unless there is a lot of speedy data that's flowing in through the different machines of the factories. So right now we are more at a stage of establishing those data centers, making sure we have a sensor in this machine or that machine. This process has full visibility in terms of IT, but we are not yet at the stage where we can put all that information into a AI engine with recommendation. We have many people now doing that. They're trying to replicate that, and they're trying to manage the hiccups that come out, or the opportunities that present themselves as a surprise. But it's still done by people and data interaction. To make it move to the next level, we need more sensors. We are working on that. In some businesses, it's easier to do than others, but we need to get more frequent, rapid streams of data, and then the AI engine has to be optimized. It's not enough to just, AI can give a lot of unfeasible answers. Then you have to optimize the AI answers to fit in the practical business constraints, because there are many answers that AI can give out which are not actually implementable. So the constraints of the human constraints and the contextual constraints have to be embedded into the data enriched capabilities of AI. And I think it's still a ways to go, but this will become a huge source of competitive advantage for those companies who can do this.
I think it's really heartening to see that you've really thought about it, how the pace of data makes such a big change. And of course, I think it is the way of the future. I think we'll have to get prepared for it. And some of these collection of data at pace would become, a necessity going forward. Coming to the next thought, ACI has been long exporting medicines to various countries, including the US. Are you looking at expanding, beyond borders? What are your thoughts around that? And also, are you looking at any joint ventures, with Indian companies like you have done once in the past?
I believe that collaborative partnerships are key. And, we believe in win-win, transparent, long-term relationships. So we have quite a few technological partnerships, JV partnerships, but ACI as a company that is very open and transparent, and with clear objectives, I think we are good partner, and we believe in these win-win long-term relationships. And I believe that we can't do everything on our own. It's important to solve problems quickly, and that will come through collaborative partnerships. So I welcome that. We have started exporting to the US directly from our manufacturing facilities. We also export medicines to many different countries. But as we move into other areas and we try to globalize, we need to become more competitive in terms of our ability and our right to win. It's work in progress. I would say that's the frank answer. ACI exports only a small fraction. We are primarily a domestic conglomerate with export opportunities now opening up in pharma through our FDA approved plant.
Thank you. And it's really heartening to know about those plans. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Dr. Dowla, is that your company owns this huge supermarket chain, Shopno, in Bangladesh. Now, did the disruptions in supply chain and, in the recent past impact Shopno, and what were some of the lessons learned from that disruption?
There were disruptions. Definitely, there were a lot of products that we could not make available in the shops on time. But that being said, that was a disruption for others also. So we tried to make sure that we had competitive advantage over others. We tried to make sure we did more than what others could do. As a result, we have actually gained more trust, earned more customers.
One of the things I wanted to ask was, ACI is the first company in Bangladesh to have obtained the ISO 14001 certification for environmental management systems. So, what are some of the specific measures which were taken by your company to promote, sustainable practices across the operations?
I think that in this space, we have a lot more to do. But we have been able to at least ensure that all our factories have proper effluent treatment plants, that we make sure that we don't waste energy, and whatever we discharge from all our factories are discharged at an environmentally friendly level. These are the specific things. So we installed those treatment plants across our factories, and we have many factories, more than 20 plus factories. So we try to make sure we do that.
So now changing gears a bit, your company has recently launched 2 digital education apps. One is Medhabir Supernova, and the other one is Kids Brain Builder, to make it easier for children to learn. What measures do you think the edtech industry must take to cater to this diverse learning needs of kids across different regions without deepening the digital divide? Because that's also very important from an overall growth of the ecosystem.
I think we went into these two with a particular view in mind. That is, there's a lot of factual knowledge in our educational curriculum that's floating around. But factual knowledge is not what's really needed as much as what is needed is conceptual understanding and ability to synthesize many, many different types of information into something meaningful. So we thought that if we launch apps, education apps, where we use animation to explain to children more challenging and harder concepts, things that are hard for teachers to teach in the normal blackboard setting. So those are, if you have a concept like Archimedes' principle, it's much better explained in terms of an animation or something in physics, say, for example, Pascal's law of pressures, or you want to show maybe Boyle's law or gas laws or some more complex stuff. This requires animation, and a lot of students don't really get to ever understand these deeper scientific concepts. They learn facts, but they don't learn ideas. But animation and visual technology, and especially the ability for you to repeat it in case you miss the idea, this is extremely powerful for a country like Bangladesh, where there's so many people who, they say literacy through education and ability to read and write, but that's not really where education should be. Education should be in opening and unlocking the conceptual potential of the human brain. These apps are actually problem solving and more oriented toward developing creative thinking. So that's why we did that, and I think more education companies should focus on powerful hard concepps, and they will be surprised how children can pick up very challenging ideas. Instead of learning these principles when they are 18-year-old, if they learn it at 8 or 9, which they can, their ability to become a technology-oriented, future-driven population will be much higher, and our countries will be greatly benefited from that.
No, that's a very innovative and, I would probably say a revolutionary way of thinking about, kids' education. Thanks for that. Again, shifting gears a bit, ACI is also now engaged in the marine business, and it has recently launched a marine engines which can be used in vessels, industrial machinery, and dredgers. So what prompted this move? Are there any other projects in the pipeline which will contribute to the country's blue economy?
See, ACI has started an agricultural machineries business from which we developed a very large team of service engineers. So a natural consequence of that is to do servicing for marine engines. The marine sector, we are a country of rivers, and our marine system is very weak and very unscientific. There is a lot of things we can get through the rivers. There's a lot of information that the river water carries. We need to get sensors in the rivers. We need to also understand how we can turn it into a source of competitive advantage. So we have not been able to capture it. There's a lot of things to be done. And since we have this agricultural service team engineers, over 800 engineers we have developed, we need to focus and start somewhere. So we decided to start through servicing of marine engines. But through this, it will open up a gateway of information, and then we will be able to go deeper into understanding what's happening in this sector.
Probably a question more around, you of course mastered mathematics. Tell us a little bit about your area of research and how that has played a role in, your career graph, and what really keeps you motivated as a person.
I think what excites me about the future is that we are a country that's developing. A lot of human needs are being satisfied through the work that organizations do. So I want to see that we are able to drive change, create growth, but at the same time be very impactful in terms of the development of human life. That's why if you look at our businesses, we are in agriculture, even these education apps, all these things are connected to what is fundamentally required in our country. We can't do everything. We can't, develop rockets and all that. But what we can do within the spectrum of what we can do, we are trying to mobilize a lot of technology around that space. And now that we are, almost a $1.5 billion company, which is large from the perspective of Bangladesh, we are able to mobilize many of these resources to be able to capture that. The mathematics that I have learned there is very conceptual. So it doesn't directly apply, but where it applies is that I see technology as a core driver of this change. And I think that the math helps only in terms of understanding the rate of growth of different KPIs. And that tells a story, actually. If your organization has many KPIs and different KPIs have different growth rates, and so most people will look at growth rates, but for someone like me, I'd look at growth rate, rate of growth, rate of growth. So I look at higher derivatives. I use some of the understanding of calculus to give me early indicators of what's happening. Another thing that happens is that you understand pattern recognition, and you understand, say, for example, what actually AI does. For me, AI is just nothing but a simple statistical function that is a little more elaborate than the normal one. So AI is not a mystery to me. When you look at it from a mathematician's point of view, a lot of this is nothing but statistics and computers and numbers, which are algorithms. So a lot of the mystery is taken out. That helps. Business is a lot about understanding those technologies, but more about making sure that people are excited when they come to office. So I'm actually trying to look at the psychological aspect more, because I understand the technical aspect. For me, it's more important to make sure that people are excited when they come to office, they're motivated, they're here. So I don't want the math to hinder my empathy with people. I think leadership is about that empathy.
You touched upon so many very key important points, and I think our viewers would probably appreciate that here is a man who's not just driving business change, but more important in driving societal change. So Dr. Dowla, thanks a lot for spending some time with us and for your thoughts.
Thank you, Arnab, for asking such wonderful questions. Thank you for taking the time to ask me those questions. And your interview was, so well conducted. Thank you. Thank you for being so insightful in how you design this. Thank you. Much appreciated.